Mike Pompeo, the former Secretary of State, former CIA Director, Fox News contributor, joining us now. Always enjoy having him on, as much for his service to this country as just the fact that, well, he's an Italian-American. We like to see that continue. Secretary, great to see you. Let me ask you a little bit about this no labels thing. I know you like to eschew politics, all of that, but obviously the entrant of a third candidate team, if you will, complicates the picture here. But Joe Lieberman says it's on, and they are going to get on all the state ballots, even if they don't have candidates yet for those state ballots. But what do you make of it?
Well, look, in the end, the political party system we've had for a long time has put every president in office for decades. I suspect this won't be any different. One of the reasons I suspect they're having trouble getting folks to step forward is because it's not likely to be a successful outcome at either getting the presidency or, frankly, reshaping how Americans are thinking about the political process. And so, in the end, it's you can't win with nothing, Neil. You got to have a candidate. Sounds like they don't have one yet, and I suspect it will be President Trump or President Biden that is ultimately elected.
There's more focus this time than even there was back in 2016 when Donald Trump first ran and won for the presidency on who he picks to be with him. Your name does come up. Are you interested in that?
Well, Neil, look, it's flattering that my name comes up, that they had a chance to serve for 4 years and didn't completely blow it. So people still think, hey, it might be possible he'd get another swing. I don't often comment on jobs I've not been offered, but Neil, you've known me long enough to know that if I get a chance to serve and think that I can make a difference, I'm almost certainly going to say yes to that opportunity to try and deliver on behalf of the American people.
Do you think it would be different in a second Trump administration? That is, returning to the Oval Office, recruiting people. He had at some time some difficulty with early picks for Secretary of State, Defense, et cetera. You know that far better than I. And that he might be scaring off people who would otherwise be honored to be part of a White House senior staff and cabinet.
Neil, there were folks who didn't want to serve in the last Trump administration, too, or folks who came in and then punched their ticket and went on and left pretty quickly. I'm confident that when President Trump is ultimately successful and is back in the White House in January, that he will be able to field an incredibly capable group of people who are patriots working to deliver on the things he promised the American people he would deliver on the border, on national security, to get the economy backtracking. I'm confident he'll find a good group of men and women who will want to serve in that way.
He demands, we're told, intense loyalty. That the one reason why he thinks he had some of the mistakes that he had in some hires was that they were not loyal. What do you make of that?
Oh, goodness. I think every administration wants to have people that are delivering against what they said they would do. So call it what you might. Call it loyalty. Call it mission focus. That's how I thought about it. I was laser focused every day on whether I was at CIA or State Department, trying to say, what is it the president told the American people we do? What's the ask, and how do we execute that? How do you actually implement that as a practitioner, not someone who's out giving speeches or pontificating in a classroom? We had to actually get it done. I'm confident President Trump will be looking for people who will faithfully execute what it is he asked them to do. I think as a president, you should always want that from everyone. I must say, as Secretary of State, I certainly wanted my team to do what I was asking them to do and was enormously frustrated when I found that I couldn't get them to do that.
Your take on the Donald Trump has raised some eyebrows, particularly in Europe, with his criticism of NATO and those countries that don't pay up. It might have been exaggeration, but he even offered in one speech for Russia to go ahead and invade that country that doesn't keep a minimum of 2% for defense. What do you make of that, and whether a Trump administration, if it were to return, would even be loyal to NATO?
Neil, I think the best predictor of future performance is kind of a financial idea, right? Is past performance. It's not always indicative, but often tells you a lot about at least the ideas that will animate how someone invests, or in the case of a president, how they'll deliver. And I look at what we did for those 4 years. We made a lot of European countries uncomfortable, and as a result of that, they did the right thing. What they should have done without being made uncomfortable, I think Secretary General Stoltenberg, the General Secretary of NATO still to this day, would say that some $400 billion flowed into NATO's defense operations because of what President Trump and our team did. I have every expectation that the fact that it was the Javelin missiles that the Trump administration provided to Ukraine that actually saved Kyiv in the moment. I'm confident that the next Trump administration will do the right thing for America, and NATO will be a central part of that. And I hope the Europeans will take up their responsibility and do it well and do it right. I think President Trump will ask for that, too.
Do you think he'll be as keen on being supportive of Ukraine?
What we always had in mind was make sure we get it right for America, right? They've got shorthanded as America first. When we did that well, when we did the things that matter to America, it was often the case that while we didn't send a lot of American troops to far-off places to risk their lives, we often found the American power tool, right? The capacity to deliver American economic power, the capacity to get trade rules right. Those things were really good for these countries, and I'm confident that the things that we did for Ukraine in those 4 years would continue under a Trump administration in the second term as well.
Secretary, always good seeing you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Neil. Bless you. Have a good day, sir.
You too.